Hello, dear friends. Welcome. Today's pick a card reading is from the Archetypes deck. So I know it seems very broad, if you saw the title, Messages from the Archetypes, but it's because so much was channeling through. I was like fishing there was so much going in front of my face as I was like speaking to spirit that I was like, which one? Like they all would, be appropriate. I haven't seen the cards explicitly. A few of them I saw when I was, knocking things down, but I don't really know which one is which now. And so I realize that there are so many messages because an archetype is exactly that. It's like, it's like one, it's like looking at things through one lens, through one scope. It's like the title of something. And if you're not familiar with archetypes, I'm actually going to be doing the next class I'm going to be teaching on my Patreon channel is about the archetypes. And we're going to go further in depth with this deck because Edward and I pulled some cards today as well from this deck. And, I realized he didn't have a full grasp of like the archetypes. And I don't think I really did either until I found this deck and read, all about it. And a little side note about this deck that I have to tell you is the person that channeled this deck, who created this deck, they created this deck in one of my favorite places on the West Coast. Like it's a magical place for Edward and I. So that touched me deeply. And it's not a common place. It's very small. It's like you can blink and miss it. And so that even was like a deeper connection for me. So when we were talking about it today, I read deeply into the book and I realized that Spirit wants me to go into a more in-depth look in the archetypes. So stay tuned for that. All of my information is below in the description box and a link to my Patreon channel. A lot of things are moving and shaking. Thank you to the new subscribers. I love you so much. And thank you so much to our old school, have been here since the beginning. Those who come and go, all of you, just thank you for being here. Just thank you for being alive with the chaos that's on the planet. But it makes sense that the archetypes wanted to talk to us because sometimes we need to take something when a problem seems so out of our reach of resolution. Sometimes it helps for us to just take it down to the most singular thing, right? Sometimes when things are heated, you need to just go for a walk. You walk it off, you let the energy and the emotions wear down. Sometimes you cry it out. Maybe it's all of the above. I had myself a real good cry today. I had a huge breakthrough today for myself. So grateful. So anyway, with that being said, I should say without further ado, I really want to jump into them because honestly, there's something so precious and beautiful about the messages from the archetypes right now that I think we all need to hear. And even though it may seem linear in some ways, the cool thing about it is we all look at it differently. So even your linear scope will still see it differently than someone else's scope. And I'll go in more depth with each card, okay? So starting actually in the back, we have card 1, card 2, card 3, 4, 5, and 6. Now, I don't know yet what they're going to have me do, but I have a feeling they're going to have me put something, an ampersand type of thing or an emoji or something. So if you're having a tough time choosing because they're all the same, because they look the same, Spirit said, look closer and you will see they are not the same at all because the patterns, the cards like fell perfectly. And if you look at each card, the pattern is turned in different ways. So maybe it's the pattern that's drawing to you. Maybe it's the number. Maybe it's more than one card. Maybe it's all of them. Whatever it is, don't second guess yourself. Follow your intuition, follow your instincts. This is your guide, okay? You can also use a pendulum, but I feel like for this one, whether it's the emojis through the visual, when you go in the description box to pick your, card, or if it is just, whatever it is, okay? Don't question it. All right. I love you so much. Thank you so much for being here, and I'll see you at your card. Blessed be. Oh, bye. Welcome card number 1 to the empty room. Also, if you notice, all the other cards are still where they were when I began, except for in your space. Where 1 was, it's empty. I'm going to read from the book, and then we're going to go further into that information. The empty room, the vortex, the abyss, the nothing. The empty room haunts us all. It is the universal and all too frequent feeling of lack, of wanting, of the craving to fill ourselves with something, anything. We too often attempt to remedy the discomfort of the empty room by any means necessary, leading us to a culture of more. Ironically, the empty room is filled to the brim with potential, yet we perceive it as not enough. This card is a cry for patience, for sitting within the barren walls of not knowing, for awaiting true vision and purpose before attaching to what we quote-unquote should do next to save our outward appearance. Be with the nothingness. Be with the impatience. The empty room has immense power. Let others wonder what you are doing. If you can settle into the magic of emptiness, you will soon hear its whispers of wisdom. Right away, my throat chakra. Work with your throat chakra. Whatever you need to do, crystals, speak your truth. You know, that could be many things for many people. It could be all of the above. But the loneliness, the abyss, I know that, I understand that, but you know when the best time to find that is in meditation, in that empty space in your mind, right? In this abyss out, like when your eyes are closed, what do you see? Spirit said, when your eyes are closed, what do you see? Not the laundry or that work assignment you forgot about. Not about, oh shoot, I have to pick up the kids tomorrow. None of that. The monkey chatter. You're so exhausted, but then you finally get into bed, you can't sleep. Well, you're exactly where you need to be right now. You are on the brink of a huge breakthrough, a massive, massive breakthrough. That's why you feel so tired. And as one of my favorite phrases from the British, knackered, right? You feel knackered. You feel so fucking tired. You're like, damn. But it's because you're a warrior. You're a warrior. And sometimes that path is lonely, isn't it? The path of a warrior. I've been referring to Game of Thrones a lot lately. But it's just been so nice to rewatch it again, right in a row instead of like waiting for it every season to come out, It's been intense to watch the story in order, to watch them all grow up, to see them evolve and change. But the one theme throughout is that, it's a lonely road to righteousness. When we are seeking out a path for good, for ourselves, for others, it can sometimes be lonely. And while the archetypes on the planet are all over the place and mainly disgruntled, it feels even lonelier than ever. This is when we need to fill that empty room with silence and go within, but also to seek out our tribe, for those that can fill the room with light and color and decorations and music and fun. Start filling the room in your mind with what you want right now. And even if right now you need to create that empty room in your head as a space to go, then do that. On every different level of my awakening process, I am finding different resources that help me. And in the early stages, when I was in the monkey chatter and the brain, one of the things that helped me so much was I had listened to a meditation, and they taught you how to invent your own world, like your own space. And they would ask you questions. They're like, close your eyes, and they're like, okay, where are you? Like, where's your favorite place right now? And at that time, I was like, oh, I'm like, a nice warm beach sounds nice. But I was like, more like Mediterranean, because it makes a difference. What beach? Do you want to be in the Hawaii energy, Florida energy, the Bahamas? You know what I mean? It's like, where do you want to be? The French Riviera? There's all different types of beaches. Or do you want to be, in Norway on the cold, like what feels good to you? So for me at that time, before I knew it, it was like I was in this kind of cabana place that I had created for myself, and there it was nestled in these beautiful trees I'd never even seen but I knew existed. I don't know how to explain it. And then palm trees, and then I heard the waves. I could see the blue water, and then I had this table in there, and it was like my meditation space, and nothing else was in there but this comfy table that I would go to. The room had walls and ceiling. Sometimes I would make the front, part of the house disappear so I can just see the sea. That's the fun part about our imagination. It's an empty room. We can fill it with whatever we want to fill it with. That's the beauty of it. That's the magic. And then it went on to this whole story I had for myself, where I went into this village in Greece and olive trees and eating olives, off the trees, just I've never been there, as far as I know. I'm sure I've been there in another life or as a, spirit guide, helping people there. But it was very vivid and beautiful. I could feel things. I could see the cobblestone road, the old road in the old town. And it didn't matter that I was in the Pacific Northwest and it was raining and cold here and I was miserable, right? And hadn't seen the sun in weeks. Because in my empty room, in my magical meditation space, I can go anywhere I wanted. And I'll tell you what, the more I started going to these places, I could feel it. I could feel the warmth on my skin. It's like the sun came out only for me. Sometimes I come out of meditation, I open my eyes and I'm like, oh my gosh, it's so dark in here. But to me, it was like so bright where I was, you know? So it's time to go inward and work with your meditation, really focusing on your meditation, okay? So here is some insights as well. So they talk about in the empty room, it says when in light and when in dark. So when we're in light, we have spaciousness, great potential, possibility, right? We see this empty room, this meditation space in our mind. We know that this 3D energy or this 3D world, this tangible world that we're living in, we understand that our 5D brains, like that is an energy and it's not a place. We understand that. Thank you to Braca and why can't I think of her name right now? Pam Gregory, of reminding me that recently. Like, I needed to hear those reminders. Sometimes you just need to hear those reminders that the 5D is in our mind. Like it's all around us. It's the 3D that's like the tangible material, it's the past. It's holding on. It's weighting things down like anchors. So when we are in dark, it's addiction, insatiability, more for more sake. Right? We just came out of the heaviest eclipse season that we've seen on the planet, astrologically speaking, that I have been researching and heard of for like, if not ever, but like so long ago that it's not on record, right? So give yourself some space. It's like you have this empty room, but you still have no space. But Spirit's saying, give yourself time to heal. Whenever you watch this, it's timeless. But in real time, today's December 6th, 2021, and we're still in the fray of the end of the eclipse season. It's going to warm up. It's going to feel better. But for now, these archetypes are here to talk to us and remind us who we are. So it's okay that we've been feeling like, I know for myself, my addictions have been rampant. I just can't get enough of anything. I'm just miserable. Like nothing's enough. So if you're feeling the same way, it's like you're exactly where you're supposed to be. It says this is their suggestion of peace. A day of silence is a surefire way to harness the power of the empty room. Yes, silence. The archetype of the empty room is also portrayed as the hungry ghost, always feeding and never satiated. So there's your food for thought, my beautiful friends. Until next time, all of my information is below. I pray this finds you happy and healthy. I send you lots of love from the Pacific Northwest. Blessed be. Oh, bye. Welcome card 2, my blessed warriors, number 10. Completion. 10 is all about completion and new beginnings. When I looked down, it was 1555. If that means anything to you guys, it's also number 16, which comes down to the number 7. So if any of that resonates with you for angel numbers or numerology, please go and research it, look it up for any messages. Also, I was really feeling for you guys because it was like it had to be perfect. It had to have symmetry. So I am feeling a lot of controlling energy from you guys. We're going to dig in deeper into that, but I'm going to read from the book. The warrior, the samurai, the soldier, the advocate. We often envision the warrior as an armored figure with sword in hand, moving blindly toward battle. Yet the deeper aspects of this archetype bring us face to face with death itself. The warrior stands precariously at the edge of life and death, trusting the eternal to guide the sword's blade. The warrior's work requires presence, alignment, and purpose. If and when the warrior loses its center, meaningless confrontations and violence are their default response. When this card appears, it is important to question the battle at hand. It is likely a great one, with deep roots and long-standing tensions. The actions you take will stay with you long after the dust settles. So choose wisely, O brave one. As you draw your sword, realign with the eternal wisdom within. Then surrender to the battle. I'm getting a lot of messages from this one. So when we are in light in this archetype energy, we have fierce clarity. We have purposeful action. We have resolve and we have resilience, right? That is who we are. We fight, we fight, we fight. I too align with this archetype, very much so. But warriors, when they retreat, they can only retreat for so long because they have an instinct to fight and protect and guard. But sometimes even the warrior needs to rest. Oh my gosh, we've been talking about Game of Thrones so much that I have to say, like, there's this one character in Game of Thrones that's a warrior. He's a fighter. Like, that's all he's ever done. That's all he's ever known. And then something, I don't want to give too much away in case you haven't seen it. And if you don't have anything to watch this holiday season, I highly recommend that you binge watch Game of Thrones again, because my husband and I just did it and we have learned so much. It's given me so much clarity. There's just been so many wonderful metaphors about archetypes, about who we are intrinsically. And so this one warrior, they think is dead, but then they end up finding him in this very like spiritual camp. And you can't even recognize him almost because you're so used to seeing him looking a certain way in his armor all the time. But here he is in these like soft clothes. He's just a man, because behind the warrior is still a living, breathing human being. And you see how the skeleton there, the snake, the skeleton, the rainbow, there's so many metaphors going on in that picture. The diamond in the third eye, the clarity. When we don't rest, when we micromanage, when we keep trying to control the outcome, it slowly kills us from the inside out. But the snake is here to show you that that's okay. You may look like you're dead, but you're not. You're close, but you're not. You're just about to shed your skin. And it's time to let that old stuff go. It's time to leave it in the past. It's such a great, great, honest message for all of us, myself included. I am feeling this one so strongly. Whenever you watch this, it's timeless, but in real time, it's December 6th, 2021, and it has been a really incredibly, I'm like, I could probably come up with a lot more words, right? Trying time. And we're just coming out of the last eclipse season of this Gregorian calendar year, and everything is set up in numerology for a reason. Even if people are like, oh, I don't go by the Gregorian calendar, I'm like, that's fine, but it's about numerology. And so, like this year is 2021, which is a 5, which is about change and transformation. Well, next year is 6, and 6 is about being able to breathe out after the hardship of 5, after we changed and we transformed. But even if it's going to be a 2022 6 number year, if we're not ready to let go of the past and change, if we're not going to shed that skin, then we're just going to stay in the same cycle. So if you have found yourself in the same cycle, beautiful warrior, it's time to live in the light. Because under here it says, so we talked about when we were in light, right? Because when we're in dark, we feel threatened. There's savagery behavior, abandoning our mission and our values. I mean, I don't know about you, but in the last few weeks, there's been a lot of like flipping off, spirit and fuck you to the world. I've just been like, man, I'm tired. I've had enough. I know, and I apologize. I live by a military base, so yesterday it was like, I mean, trust me, like I didn't even realize like how rough my what has been going on with me until I like bounced some shit off of a beautiful friend yesterday. So maybe you need to like talk to somebody you really trust, and somebody who you could be yourself. Because the great thing about this person was not only did they offer to hold space for me, but then they allowed it, because when I would apologize for when I got really gruff or whatever, they're like, it's okay, you're allowed to feel that way. And sometimes we just need to hear that. We just need to hear that we're not alone, that there's somebody else. And the warrior archetypes tends to be very solo, right? Or you're the head of your group or whatever, but that can still be a lonely road. We need to find those other people that we feel that same energy. So here are some more messages. Be careful, as the warrior implies war. The two go hand in hand. Those who defeat others are strong. Those who defeat themselves are mighty. When you realize that, if you're having a problem with someone else, right, an issue, a situation with someone, most likely if you're upset, it's because they're mirroring something back to you that is really hard for you to change, or is something that you just haven't grasped the full, capacity of like how much it's affecting your life. My partner and I are like that. Like we really mirror each other. And lately we've been like catching each other and going, hey, whoa, like, I don't want to talk to you like that. Let's try and, and not going back to the past and staying right here, right now. We can't change what happened. All we can do is be better from where we are. And how we be better is to really truly understand that that we're all the same, and that we're all going through the same thing. We're just calling it something different, right? So the last message from Spirit is, without a true purpose, manifesto, or oath, the warrior is lost. What do you stand for? What are you willing to rise in the name of? Write it out. So that's your homework, my beautiful friends. That is your homework. And I'm going to repeat that again. And you can, pause this and go back and get pen and paper. What do you stand for? Is question 1. Question 2, what are you willing to rise in the name of? Until next time, all of my information is in the description below. I love you so much. Thank you so much for being here. Blessed be. Oh, I'll see you next time. Bye. Welcome, card number 3. I'm so excited to read for you guys right now. Like, I haven't felt this way in a while, because it was like, I mean, all so far, I mean, they've been amazing. I love this deck. There's always more to this, right? Because the archetypes are so in depth. But what I got, like when I flipped it over, I just felt this like intense, like, ooh, I'm like, who are they? I was like, this is powerful. So let's get right to it. The shaman, the magi, the sorcerer, the medicine woman. 3 archetypal ingredients constitute the shaman, and all must be present in order to reveal its magic. Also, I'm feeling kind of choked up, my throat chakra. That came up in another pile as well. So if you were drawn to another pile, heed that, had that intuition and go read it. Okay, so let me read that again because let's drink some water. Thank you. Okay. 3 archetypal ingredients constitute the shaman, and all must be present in order to reveal its magic. First, the shaman is activated by long-standing and diligent study, in quotes, the mentor archetype. Second, its orientation is generously and accurately aimed toward the healing of the self, the other, and the culture. Quote unquote, the healer archetype. And third, the shaman has a knack for finding doorways to the other world, allowing psychic visions and old magic to leak into this world. And this one is the unseen archetype. In this way, the shaman is a master who bridges the everyday and the sacred, revealing potent power needed desperately in our time. Yet where there is power, there is shadow. So the shaman must be vigilant in studying their darkness. This card reminds us that the force of healing is ultimately not our own. We must shape it and share it with the world. Wow. So shaman, guide, teacher, student, it's all the same. It's all encompassing. And even this card, this is the first card that I was pulled to bring up close. The other cards I was not, but this one I am. And it's interesting, one of the other cards we worked with the snake energy too. So I highly recommend you look up snake spirit animal and snake spirit medicine. You just Google it, whatever feels right to you. It's all about your intuition. And the diamond, I mean, you can see it's here on the back of the cards, right? So look up diamond, work with diamond energy. You don't have to have a diamond to work with diamond energy, but the diamond crystal. So look up diamond crystal spirit medicine as well. And then the hand. I mean, reaching down, not to mention that it's number 16, which I don't know if we spoke about in here or if it was one of the last piles, but it's also the number 7. So it was one of the other piles. So that's been coming up a lot, 16 and 7. So either 1 and 6, 16, the number 7, again, things to look up on your own. But I feel like for you guys, I'm getting a dual messages here because there's so many people that watch these, right? So obviously it's not a personal reading, but take from it what you need, leave behind what you don't kind of thing right now, because Spirit really doesn't want you to read into something that's not yours. They're having me go down dark for a minute so you can see that. Oh, that's pretty. I'm going to take a picture. Prettiest picture. But you see how they're reaching for the change, right? Because snakes are all about change and transformation and shedding your skin. But you see how they've got there's like 3 skulls right here. I don't want to say too much. I always like people to kind of have their own interpretation of the card. But the one thing I am getting is it's like you're reaching for it, right? The diamond almost feels like money too. Like you're so close to it. It's as if like have you ever seen those games where people put things in a box and you can't see what's in the box and you have to guess what it is? You put your hand in the box and you touch it and then you guess what it is and you get so many points or whatever. I feel like this is very similar to that. It's like you're there, you're so close. Like you're so close. And even the snake's like, right here, but like they can't move, right? Like they can't do anything because only the person that's reaching in can go and get retrieve the item. And so it's like, I feel like wealth, change, transformation, like everything is right there. It's like right in your grasp. And you've got your, this kind of reminds me of, if you've ever seen It's a Wonderful Life, when, the angels, they show the angels talking in space and they're kind of blinking. I almost feel like these are like that, like they're kind of blinking right now. But it's, I feel like they're like, oh, you're almost there. And if you've never seen the movie Labyrinth, I highly recommend you watch it. And if you haven't watched it in a while, that spirit said that to me. I'm going to rent it as well, especially because Lula's Labyrinth, right? But anyway, but it's the same thing. It's like that one part where they're like, she's gonna say it, she's gonna say it. It's like, that's how they are. It's like they're like right there, they're like, you're so close, you're so close. And it's like spirits going, shh, be quiet, she didn't ask you for help, you can't, or they didn't ask you for help, you can't. And they're like, oh, but it's like killing them. It's like, that's what I feel like. You've got so many angels and guides and ancestors and family like all around you that are like they're like every generation, like lived, died, suffered, whatever, for you to do this. Like, you have the power. If you chose this card, you do. And also, it's card number 3, and 3 is very powerful as well. Some people, the Trinity, the Father, Son, and Holy Ghost, which really is just like the alignment, I think, of like spirit, divine feminine, divine masculine, kind of, but it's whatever feels good to you. So research it. Okay. So let's see if we have any more messages. So when we are in light with this archetype, we are so fearless. We're the fearless student and the practitioner, right? Like we're alive with spirit. We just love spirit. We love it. We love talking about it, right? Like, how it is when you first were awakening. Obviously, you found yourself here. Maybe you're right at the beginning of your awakening, and welcome, But either way, it's like this energy that you have right now is super, super lovey and intense, of wanting purpose, wanting to learn. However, when we're in dark, it says over promises, blaming, hurting yourself and others, no self-care, right? Like just not taking care of yourself. Like they're having me even adjust this almost like where it's more perfect. Like on the outside, you want everyone to think everything's perfect, but it is far from perfect. And Spirit's saying, you know what? You need to show the ugly. You need to show all of it. The good, the bad, and the ugly, because it's part of who you are. And trying to hide who you are isn't helping. When I began my channel almost 4 years ago, I was doing more real talks. And yes, I was doing spirit work and crystals and things like that. It was the beginning of my journey. But what I realized was that, and recently what I realized is that it was about me like coming full circle with my gifts. I had to keep at it every single day, all the time, and some people are like, yeah, well, it's your job. I'm like, yeah, but I made it my job because it's my job. And if you chose this card, you are a shaman of some kind. It doesn't necessarily mean that you're a reader or a medium, although most likely you have those gifts. You were brought here for a purpose. But right now, in real time, whenever you watch this, it's timeless, but in real time, it's December 6th, 2021. And we just came out of one of the hardest years and one of the most intense eclipse seasons we've ever seen on Earth, especially astrologically speaking, and all the retrogrades we had this year. It's been intense. We all feel beat to shit. So it's okay if you're not perfect. You're not supposed to be. None of us are. Spirit knows that we're in the ugly. We're in the thick of it, right? So, if you need to seclude yourself from some people, they're saying this is the time, because the only thing stopping you from reaching that is you. So, okay, so there's a few more messages they want me to read. Sorry, they had me read something else, and I'll tell you in a minute. Contrary to popular belief, the shaman archetype appears in every vocation. Teachers, directors, surgeons, politicians, and poets are just a few of the faces a shaman may wear. Exactly, right? Exactly. I forgot. I haven't read the book in a while, but exactly, right? That's what I was just saying. It's the same thing. I mean, it was channeled from Spirit. I didn't mean that ego, but you know what I mean? It's like exactly right. It comes in all shapes and sizes. It doesn't have to, and you can dress any way you want. You can wear heels and pearls and a Chanel suit and still be a shaman. You don't have to be wearing fucking patchouli and dreadlocks and sandals and, going down to Costa Rica. It's not for everybody. But some will tell you that it is. And I realized that lately that, you know, a lot of these people are like, I'm spiritual. It's like, yeah, but it's like, where are you coming from spiritually? Right. So the last message is the shaman can't be rushed. Right. So working with the archetype requires study and perseverance. Think of it like brining or marinating. The content must permeate every fiber of its being. Yes. And listen, if you're a regular on my channel, thank you so much for being here. If you're a new subscriber, thank you for being here. But my Patreon channel, if you've noticed, my channel Lula's Labyrinth is evolving. A lot more is going to evolve over this month. And by 2022, I'm going to have my whole world's going to kind of shift and change. So this channel is going to be predominantly pick a card and pick a pile readings. And I don't know if I'll do any astrology forecasts or not, but I do know for sure that on my Patreon channel, I'm going to continue teaching. And so if you want to learn more about yourself or who you are, all of my information is below in the description box, and you can follow to my Patreon channel. But I'm going to also, I'm shutting down slowly a lot of my readings and stuff from before, and slowly but surely this page will all of my old stuff, my real talks, everything from the last 4 years are going to slowly disappear. It's going to take me a while, but it's been really cool because it's making me really look at my work, and it's been really intensive. So if you are like me, maybe you have a channel already, or maybe you've been doing this for a long time, but like something just feels off with your practice, really take that time to go inward because you're so close to it. I started to realize what was happening with myself. And so I'm getting a lot of the same, you know, when I read for you guys, it's the same. I'm channeling the same. So I get my own hits, and then I share my stories with you so that you can get the perspective of how change and transformation really does start with ourselves. But sometimes it's just not the timing. You know, sometimes I mean, certain things lately have been, I'm like, it's like right in front of my face. Why didn't I see it? Right. But we're not supposed to see it until we're ready to see it. So allow yourself to go into the darkness. Just don't dwell there. It's only there for us to find, you know, the root of our issue so that we can heal it and move forward. It's not for us to go back and keep dancing over and over about and feeling no resolution. At some point, I mean, we can see something over and over and never see it the same way. That's beautiful. But there is a point in time where certain things must be left behind so that we can move forward. And my beautiful pile three, card three, my shamans, this is the time. Maybe you're in need for a walkabout. Maybe you need to go on a little vacation by yourself or take some real downtime, or just take a hard look at yourself. You know, your practice may have started one way 8 years ago, and now, you know, you're like, okay, I'm a different person. What do I want now? What did you want when you were 8 years old? What do you want to integrate that from, you know, a lot of the shadow also brings us back to our childhood. And in our childhood, we can really find our true essence of where the damaging began, and how to resolve it, but also where our fantasies lie. You know, like I was reading something from one of the other archetype cards and talked about, you know, how we mold and bend our reality, and how labels can limit our thinking and our dreaming process. So keep that in mind. Okay, you guys, thank you so much for being here. I love you so much. I'll see you next time. Blessed be. Oh, bye. Welcome, card number 4, the vessel. Right out the gate, I feel such a heavy energy for you guys. I almost feel like I want to like kind of bring this down a little bit. I just feel like all this, just the energy shifted so differently from the other cards. I'm feeling a really heavy depression, a weightiness, sadness. So before we go into the card, I just want to show you a close-up. I haven't done this with all the cards, but this one wants me to. So it's interesting because this looks like a pot, you know, but inside it looks like soup, like maybe a healthy turmeric soup or something really good for you, right? And this energy feels like warmth, sun, right? Like you'd want to go there, because this feels kind of dark and lonely. But that's why the depression, I'm feeling that because I just feel like there's just this heavy energy of not feeling worthy, not feeling good enough, that you're not special when you are very, very, very special. Like, I love you so much. I just want you to know that Spirit loves you so much, because I'm just hearing like this very, I'm even at a loss for words. So you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to go into the book. Okay, let's go into the book, and let's kind of dim the lights a little bit. Okay. The vessel, the body, the container, the cup. The vessel may be the most powerful archetypal form on earth. It is everywhere. Cups hold liquid, stoves hold fire, our bodies hold organs, our homes hold families. Through the simple act of separation, the vessel protects what it contains. Nests protect the eggs, savings accounts protect our earnings. Even the planets are contained within their circular orbit. When this card appears, it's time to assess what is being held together and how. Is the vessel too tight, too loose, broken, empty, full? Or perhaps there is no vessel at all, and the contents spill in every direction. It is natural for structures to be formed and eventually fall apart. The vessel has a life cycle that must be honored. It is time for you to build, break, or repair. And only you must find out. Crying is so good. It releases all that pent-up energy that we no longer need and don't need to hold on to. Because this card holds so many different messages for everybody, I'm just going to read a little bit further. Okay? And then I'm going to leave it there. When we are in light, we are stable, we are strong, and we are graceful, right? It's easy to be a vessel when we feel strong. We can hold up others, right? When we feel stable economically, no concerns, no worries. And when we're graceful, we move with ease. We don't bump into things. We move slow and steady because we know that there is no urgency. We respect and honor patience. But when we are in dark, we feel trapped. We feel like we're in a bubble. Like nobody knows us, nobody understands us, nobody sees us, nobody feels what we feel. But that's not true. Throat chakra. This is the third card out of 4 that are throat chakra. It's time to speak your truth, beautiful soul. If something is taking away your light, if something is stealing your light and leaving you in the darkness, that the only color you have is the color you create, then you're in the wrong place. And that could be people, places, things, time periods. Are you stuck in the past? Are you in the future? Now is all we have. That's all we have. That's literally all we have. So I'm going to read a few more things here. It says the mentor and the healer must pay particular attention to this archetypal form. Healing cannot be sustained without a strong container. Yes. And it's very hard to heal where we were broken. You know, if you have a broken bone, you set that bone and then you leave it to heal. You don't keep going in there to check and see if it healed. You're trusting that your body, that you're not moving, or that part of your body is staying stationary so that you can heal. Excuse me. I haven't even eaten anything today, and I've been up for hours. I don't mean to be gross and burp, but I almost feel like it's like that. Like, I feel like you guys got to get it out. Like, you don't even this is going to be kind of silly, but they're making me say this. Like, I almost feel like you're in that relationship where like you can't fart. And it's like, you should be, yeah, and you could laugh because it's funny.
And I'm going to use another reference, right? Like Sex in the City. I remember in the show where she's just starting to fall in love with Mr. Big, and like things are getting really serious, and she farts in front of him. And it's the first time, and he laughs and he thinks it's hilarious, but she does not think it's funny. She's like mortified with every fiber of her being, right? She's mortified. Well, it's like, but you should be able to do that. I mean, my partner and I laugh at our burps and our farts. Like, we are hilarious. Now, that's just us. You don't have to be like us. I'm just saying, like, we are 100% ourselves with each other, but we can still make love and be silly and be naked and vulnerable with each other. A true relationship with ourselves and with others is to be able to be 100% yourself all the time. You know, your mission, should you choose to accept it, I have not heard from this spirit guide in a long time. I call him Ethan Hunt because he's like, doo 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 doo, like Mission Impossible. And he's saying, your mission, should you choose to accept it, is to walk around naked. If you live with other people, ask them if you can have, oh, my throat chakra is getting tight because that sounds scary to you, right? But they're saying that's why it's your homework. To call out to could say to your friends or your family or significant other, or if you live alone, doesn't matter, that if you live alone, they're challenging you to be naked as long as possible. If that means you have to turn up the heat in your house or whatever, that's fine. Like, you can wear socks and stuff, but they're just like, they want you to feel vulnerable. And it's not about sex. Our nakedness is vulnerability. It's about being vulnerable, because once we can be truly vulnerable, that's why, see how they're like covering their bits? It's like, once we can be truly vulnerable, even with ourselves, that's when the magic happens. That's when we start to really, really open up and be ourselves. There are a lot of people out there right now, a lot of celebrities that are waking up really fast, and you can tell they're just like, you know, Kelly Clarkson, like, she's just being herself. And, you know, it's like, she's admitted, she's like, I'm an unraveling, you know, emotional fucking shit show right now, you know. She's acknowledging like all of her faults, but people need that right now. That's why she's so popular. Um, but it's like that, you know, and like her or don't like her, it's like, but she's being herself. You don't have to like her, but at least applaud that she's being herself. And so I'm getting from spirit that it's time for you to really be naked with yourself and the world. You know, I don't care if you walk around with a scarf around your apartment and a hoodie, as long as it's open and like your body, like you're, like if you're a woman, your breasts and your vagina, if whatever you identify with, because I actually have friends who have both, who have a penis and breasts. So whatever feels good to you, whatever naked, you know, it's about showing that part of you and loving yourself and catching yourself in the mirror and being like, look at me, I'm awesome. Look at me, I'm sexy. This depression, you know, pull yourself out of it. Also, what I noticed is, when I'm like, I've been in this really dark period myself, and I just really went too far with like eating and stuff and not doing yoga and working out. And I find when I wear more like tighter fitting clothing and I'm walking around naked more, not only do I honor my body, I don't shame myself for what I've done. I honor my body, and then I say, okay, I'm going to take better care of you, right? Because you're my vessel. You're carrying my soul on this planet. You know, vulnerability comes in a lot of forms, but nakedness, there's a true beauty to it. That's how we came into this world. Okay, and the last one is the physical body. Did we read this one? The physical body is the most sacred vessel of all. It is the one in which you reside from your first breath to your last. It may need your attention. Yeah. So I'm also hearing like your diet, like clean it up. It's okay. Just take it day by day. You don't have to do an overhaul overnight. It doesn't have to be like that. It's more of like getting in touch with just being real with yourself about it, you know, just like being real. Like, I wanted this one thing, and I was like starting to plan my birthdays next week, and it's my 50th. It's a big one. So I was just like, you know, I'm you know, wanting to plan something really big. And then all of a sudden I was like, I don't want that on my birthday. I'm like, I've been trying to clean up my diet. I'm like, you know what? Just get it now. And so we actually had it yesterday. And now I'm glad, because I kind of feel like shit. And I realized, I'm like, because I don't really eat that anymore. It's like a little guilty pleasure. And I'm like, I don't want to feel like shit on my birthday. I actually want to feel good on my birthday. I only want to eat foods that, like, you know, real sugars, you know, like fruit sugars and, you know, natural sugars and coconut sugars and things like that. And not refined sugar, not, you know, whatever. And because of some tradition, it was like I was living in some old place in my brain, you know? So work it out if you need to eat that thing or do that thing or go see that movie or watch this, or, you know what I mean? Whatever you have to do. But then come back with something positive, you know? Watch something more positive, something that makes you laugh, something that uplifts you. Eat foods that make you feel good about yourself, that, you know, that you actually feel good. They taste good, but they make you feel good too. All right, those are your messages, beautiful souls. All of my information is in the description below. Thank you so much for being here, and I'll see you next time. Blessed be. Oh, bye. Welcome, card number 5. You chose the Maiden, which is also the number 8. The Maiden says, the virgin, the princess, the innocent. The maiden archetype is the epitome of innocent arousal, naive sensuality, and precarious purity. She is compelling and addictive because of her flawless and youthful glow. She's the first archetype in the trifecta of maiden, mother, crone, and rightfully so, because she has oh so much to learn. The maiden is perfectly positioned for trouble to come her way and subject her to a challenge that leads to the next phase of womanhood. She must grow up, yet hesitates at the threshold, enamored by the charms of youth. The maiden represents the side of us that is riveted and curious, drawn to shadowy forests, dark nights, and taking just one taste of that poisonous fruit. Her magic is edgy and includes both shame and delight. Let yourself fall down the rabbit hole, young one. Let's just sit with this for a minute. Look at the imagery there. I love the colors and the embodiment of the colors. The number 8 is also the infinity symbol. So the maiden is part of the feminine divine. Like they said, the youthful spirit. And I feel like these almost like remind me of like breasts, but they also, this one kind of reminds me of the, you know, the life spiral. They're not having me pull it closer. Some of the cards they have and some of them they haven't. So they have a reason for that. But I also find it interesting that I'm getting a lot of fairy energy from this. So for some of you, you know, obviously this isn't going to resonate for everybody, but I'm getting this kind of like like they talked about like the Dark Knight, like you like the bad boys, you like the or the bad girls, if you're whatever you like, you know, whoever you are, it doesn't matter, right? But that kind of energy, right? You like the rebel, the, you know, who doesn't, right? Like who doesn't want to go party with the bad boy, bad girl, you know? Who doesn't want to party with a bad boy and a bad girl, you know? I was actually talking to a fellow tribe member about this yesterday, you know? I was like, I get the polyamory. I get all that. I'm like, I've been with men, women. I'm like, I've had, you know, threesomes, foursomes. I'm like, I've done all that. Like, if that's something that you need to, you know, this reading is ageless and timeless. So it's like, it doesn't matter how old you are. Maybe it's just an energy that either you are dipping too much into and you need to kind of, you know, maybe you're going there because it feels comfortable, because it's like an old pattern or something you used to do, or it could be that you're, you know, um, you are in the maiden energy. You are in that time period of the maiden where you are curious and you want to try things out. Well, that's perfectly fine. Just be mindful of it, right? We also spoke about that, you know, that they were, this is, it's so interesting. It's so interesting because if I hadn't had that conversation with them yesterday, I wouldn't be able to really see what what spirit is trying to show me right now, which is, you know, polyamory is not for everybody. I kind of feel like for some of you guys, you may be in a situation or a relationship where there's like a third party involved, which is why it's the number 8. But if you look, it's like a V, right? And then there's 3 ones. So it's almost like if this person, you know, if this was like one person and like there's other people. I also, this is not a fun one for me to report because I've been where you are. But I'm also feeling like if you have the feeling or if you've been getting a vibe that your person is talking to someone else, they are. I don't feel like they've acted on it 100%. I don't normally bring messages like this, or we didn't with the other ones. The other ones we really much kept to the archetype itself. But this one I'm feeling a really strong pull to to let you know that if you're feeling a pull, whether it's that you need to break up with someone or that they're not on the up and up or something, if something doesn't feel right, you're on the money. And Spirit's saying, stop questioning yourself. You're only questioning yourself because you don't want to know the truth. But the truth will set you free because you don't want to be with someone like that anyway. If their eye is on you, her, them, and we've been doing a lot of references this pick a pile or pick a card with Sex in the City and Game of Thrones, but it kind of reminded me of like in Sex in the City, one of the episodes where Carrie starts dating this guy, and come to find out that they like everybody, which is fine. I mean, to each his own. Absolutely. Like I love that people are really expressing themselves these days. Like I love that. But she thought she'd be on board with it, but then she started to realize like she just wasn't. She wasn't on board with it. So, if you like somebody that's like that, that's fine. But if you're not into that, like don't be in that relationship just because, whatever. Or if you're waiting for them to change or outgrow it or whatever, I'm hearing they're not. They're not gonna outgrow it. So, some people do. Some people change. When I looked down, it was 55-45. So if that means anything to you, if those numbers mean anything to you, the angel numbers, or if you want to add them together to the lowest denominator, that angel number or numerology, even if you need to like kind of pause and go back and hear it again and write it down, but that means something. And that's just another little breadcrumb for you to find on your mission. You just Google, that number, whatever you come to, or the number that I said, and then angel number, numerology or whatever. Okay. But yeah, I mean, I'm getting a lot of different downloads from this card, which is interesting. And it's like I'm getting also like an energy of someone like in their 40s who has been kind of reverting back to like behaviors of their 20s, or maybe you're dressing like that or something, and you're like, and it's more because you're feeling lost. That's normal. Not only is the whole planet lost right now, but I know for myself, like I'm going to be 50 next week, and I didn't I really didn't think the midlife crisis thing was real, but it is fucking real. It is so real. It is so real. And I think it's more of like for myself, I've been, wow, like, yeah, I'm half a century. Like, that's really cool. Like that's 5 decades, and fives are change and transformation. And, it makes sense that we would be at that number, wanting to change ourselves or reinvent ourselves. So maybe you chose this card, maybe the other things didn't resonate with you at all, and you're like, I don't even know why I'm still listening to this pile, and this is your message. But yeah, it's time to change that. And if you were pulled to some other cards, some other numbers in this reading, I would highly recommend it because they're all different archetypes and they're messages from the archetypes. So I feel like this particular message from the maiden is letting us know that it's okay to dip back into that maiden energy, but you need to find it maybe in a way now. Like I used to hate when my family or friends, I don't like to use the word hate, but I really strongly disliked when people would tell me that I dressed too young. And I was like, because I like to wear cowboy boots, jeans, and band t shirts, I was like, that's how I like to dress. And they were like, yeah, like grow up. And I was like, I'm not like wearing, like, I'm not 45 trying to wear, Daisy Dukes and like a crop top, with my boobs like hanging, you know what I mean, with my butt hanging out and all that. Like, I don't. And if somebody does it, that's fine, do you, that's fine. But I'm just saying, like, I was kind of like, that's how they were saying it, as if I was like, and I couldn't understand it. So much judgment. And even myself, I'm not trying to judge it. I'm just using it as an example. But I realized, I was like, wow, it's just because we all have different perceptions. So age really is just a number. However, if it's not who you really are anymore, people will perceive it. Somebody else, like I just saw an image of Britney Spears, just turned 40, and she was wearing like Daisy Dukes and like high heel boots and whatever, and she was rocking out, right? She was like feeling her inner goddess, and like more power to her. And it has nothing to do with size. Lizzo does the same thing, and I think Lizzo is like one of the sexiest fucking beings on this planet, but it's all perception. So if it's just the maiden archetype, kind of more like a, you know, maybe you're, going from the mother to the crone, and they're just saying like, why do you want to be the maiden again? Like you've been that.
You're not naive. You don't need to relive something or whatever. Or you're somebody who's coming out of like a long relationship or a marriage, maybe. And when you got married, you were 20. So you're kind of like reliving that. They're saying that's fine, but there's still a productive way you can do that where you're not maybe, because I'm getting the vibe that you don't feel good about yourself doing it though. So, that's what I'm saying. It's like if someone feels good about it, it's like, I don't know. That's just what I'm channeling. I apologize if it's not coming through the way that they're trying to say it. So the advice is moving from the maiden to the mother is challenging, often leaving unresolved tensions between the two archetypes for years, if not a lifetime. But also I just heard integrating them, right? So moving from the maiden to the mother is challenging, often leaving unresolved tensions. So even maybe you're somebody who like that, right? Like maybe you went from the maiden to bam, you got pregnant and you're like 20 years old and you didn't even get to like really live your maiden years. And now you're 45 and you're trying to like recapture that. Because you didn't, it's like you went from bam, maiden to mother. You didn't get to ease into it. So there's something deeper there. That must be a message for somebody because I feel like they keep driving that home. Okay, so then the last one is, do you long to be rescued by another? Or receive a kiss that brings you back to life? Be wary of waiting for a prince to break the spell of your own life. That's really powerful. So when we are in light in this archetype, we're curious, we're enchanting, we're sensual, we're full of vitality, right? Like any of us can channel the maiden energy no matter how old you are. That's the whole point, right? Like we can still feel that light airiness of the maiden and enchanting sensuality of feeling alive. But when we're in dark, we're more faking it, right? We're projecting an image of the maiden that we want to be, but not necessarily are, right? We're in denial. We are in fantasy, but we're not living in the reality of where we are right now. And what that does is that pulls us out of that literally pulls us out of who we are. So how can you even be who you are if you're channeling? Do you know what I'm saying? I feel like you guys get it. Okay. So those are your messages. I don't think there are any more. Let me see. Nope, that's it. And if you would like to study further with me, this is the first time that they had me say this, but in the description box below is my Patreon channel. I spoke about it before in the other piles, but in a different way. But for some of you, if you're really wanting to push forward in your gifts and your skills, I'm slowly transforming all of my information from my YouTube channel to my Patreon channel, and eventually starting in January, I believe. It may even be at the end of this month. I'm not sure exactly how they're going to do it, but this channel will just be pick a pile and pick a card readings. This is a pick a card. And then all of my deeper teachings, my real talks, my moon readings, like that kind of stuff is all going to be on my Patreon. Okay. So if you're interested, the link is below in the description it's the magical medium. And all my other information is below as well. And I love you so much. Hang in there. Don't be hard on yourself, okay? I love you so much. Spirit loves you, and we'll see you next time. Blessed be. Aho. Bye. Welcome, card 6, to your messages from the archetypes. If you chose 6, if you were drawn to that imagery, you chose the offering, which is also 64, which is 10. When you bring it down to the lowest denominator, it's 1. So it's about endings and new beginnings. The book says the offering, the gift, the present, the sacrifice. Unlike many of the other cards in the deck, the offering carries a clear as day message and a call to action. As you may have guessed, it is time for something to be given and given up, for the sake of the bigger picture. If nothing comes to mind immediately, though it's likely it will or it has, take time and meditation to consider what must be offered and who is to receive it. It's likely you'll feel attachment and hesitancy. You'll make excuses, but recognize the link between the word sacrifice and the word sacred. One leads to the other. And when we offer up something to the greater good, we lighten our load and become more able to serve. Imagine for a moment if you were to offer your whole self, unconditionally, to the world? Well, for now, start small. And when we are in light with this archetype, when we are in light with this archetype, we are generous, we love giving, we love to volunteer and donate, whether it's our time, money, things. But when we're in dark and when we're in shadow, we're giving with expectation. We're keeping track, right? I gave this, they should give me this. Whenever you watch this, it's timeless, but in real time right now, it's December 6th, 2021. We are just at the end of a very tumultuous year. Of a 2021 is 5. Fives are about challenge, transformation, chaotic energy, instability. It's about feeling lost, searching, wandering. But we also just wrapped up an eclipse season, and it was a doozy. So I know for myself, I feel this archetype hard right now because I am a natural, generous person. I love to give. I love to give my time. Obviously, I've had this channel for 4 years, and though I love everything about this channel, as of today, right now, I have 249 subscribers. But I realized that over this time, not only was I teaching, but I was learning. And how cool that I even remotely got to get paid for learning. It was like a paid internship. And now things are shifting in my world. I started to realize what was going on in the off balance. Somebody gave me something recently, and the way I responded to it was like such an old, like I was even kind of grossed out by my own response to it. And I was like, what the fuck? But then I realized, you know what? That's okay, because that's where I'm at. Because then later on, when I was explaining it, I realized, in the moment that I was explaining it to my husband, I realized, I said, but look at that though. I needed to like even say it out loud to him and hear like how that's not even who I am. That's like an old programming, this tit for tat bullshit. That's not what it's about. It's just the way we've been programmed to believe. Why? Why am I not doing this? Why? Gimme, gimme, gimme. Look at, right? Like their hand, it's like, is your hand out in receiving or is your hand out in giving? Because the truth is, the more we give, the more we get. It's not about the specific thing. I mean, even down to right now, right? In like this energy, wherever you live, but most people know that December is, Christmas energy, right? What did you ask Santa for? Did you make your list? To be very specific. Well, there's nothing wrong with being specific, but sometimes, you may want, a red wagon because that's all you've ever seen was a red wagon until someone paints you a groovy wagon that's got like cool colors and it's like different than everybody else's wagon, right? It's like maybe the wagon has all these different colors and it's got like moons on the side and all of a sudden you're like, oh, that's so cool. Well, isn't that better than that standard red wagon that everybody else has? So Spirit's saying it's time to flip the script and shift your perspective on something, right? Even with this imagery, they're asking me to put it upside down for you. Oh, they want it this way. Okay. Almost like they're like, here, right? Like now their hand's like this, ready to release it. Here you go. Thank you. Thank you so much, right? So the advice here is, if there is a gift you've been thinking of giving someone special, now is the time. And on the flip side of that, it says, once a week, Gandhi gave up speaking for a day, offering himself to divine silence. The offering can come in all shapes and sizes. Yes. It could be as simple as opening the door for somebody. Recently there was this woman who was trying to get through this door with a stroller. I was like almost sickened to my core that like I like ran to the door. I like stopped what I was doing and ran to the door because nobody, men, women, children, all different ages, nobody fucking went to the door to help her. And it was so weird to me. And I just was like,
what have we become? Have we just become so, especially like with these viruses and all these like scares that they've been putting, this fear bullshit that they've been putting, into the matrix, which it isn't real, by the way. They're just like starting to make shit up now. I hope you recognize that. Um, like my one friend, I've had two friends, two light workers are like, I have COVID. I'm like, no, you don't. You think you do. And they're like, no, I have the symptoms. I'm like, I'm sure you do. But we are really powerful right now. And the power of suggestion can mean a lot. So if you're like in a room and then you find out everybody had it, all of a sudden you're like, oh, I have it. And my one friend's like, no, I literally was tested for it. I'm like, I'm sure you were. I'm like, because you told yourself you had it, so you got it. But you're fine and you're going to work through it and it's going to be fine. You know, there's just a lot of like fear that's been put out there. And, it's time to offer. When somebody offers you fear, that's another offering. When somebody offers you fear, offer them love. Don't be afraid to hug somebody or touch somebody. It's I watched something recently about AIDS, and I was born in 1971, so I absolutely positively remember everything about AIDS, and just how gross it was. And I have 17 tattoos, and my very first tattoo was an AIDS ribbon because of just what I watched happen before me and how they made it a quote unquote gay man's disease. And just like I was just sickened, by the power of suggestion and the power of hate. So even if it's as simple as offering love or offering, to say to somebody, hey, the power of suggestion is really powerful. Let's do something happy. Offerings come in all shapes and sizes. Let me see if there are any more messages. This is the only card so far that I've been feeling this urge to move it around. Wow, now look at that. Now look at this. They're saying also, when you let go of whatever that is that you're holding so tightly in your hand right there, right? Whatever you're holding so tightly in your hand, when you release that, whether it's a belief system about yourself or others or whatever it is, it's different for all of us, then is when this magic, see this, how this, it's like poof. If you haven't seen, oop, I just lost the flash. Ooh, that means something. It's because when I get to a certain percentage on my phone, I lose the flash. That means we're getting to the end of it. But let me just do, for your homework, your mission, should you choose to accept it, is watch the movie Black Widow with Scarlett Johansson and Florence Pugh. I think it's Pugh or Pug. I think it's Pugh. But anyway, there are so many things, and I was going to show you that smoke, but I don't want to give too much away. But it kind of it helps people. You just watch the movie and you'll understand what that smoke means, right? So it's like once you release that thing that you need to let go of, then the magic, all of a sudden you're going to see things so differently. You're going to, like the Black Widow, it's like that red powder is going to go into your face and you're going to be like, what? I've been under this spell for so long? I mean, it's not an accident, you guys. I could have charged my phone. I asked Spirit if I should charge it more. They're like, oh no, you're fine. And that's why, because they wanted you to see it like this. Because you're like in this darkness and shadow and your abundance and things aren't happening because of it. Oh, I can't even bring you into the, oh, here, I can do this. Hold on. Hold on. Hold on, dear tribe. Ha-ha. And they said, let there be light. But do you see up here? It almost like looks like birds. But they're choking on that smoke. The smoke of ego, control. And also, you're not a, Spirit wanted me to say, you're not a spiteful person. So please stop the spiteful behavior. That's a specific message. I don't know who that's for. And it's not they're not giving you a bitch slap. It's not like that. It's more just like, that's not even who you are. It's just in the shadow that you've been, so just offer an apology and say, hey, listen, there's a lot of shit going on right now, and I didn't mean it. My spouse and I, we have been apologizing to each other left and right lately. There's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with it. It's not about saying it's okay for you to keep doing it to me. It's more like each time we talk about it again, this is how this bothered me. This is how this affected me. So sometimes we have to offer an apology, for the way we acted. We can ask someone forgiveness and we can offer an apology, but they don't have to accept it either. And the truth is, you're doing it more for yourself than for them. But, it's like them accepting your apology is a bonus, but you don't need their acceptance or their forgiveness or an apology for you to be happy with who you are.
Stop holding on too tight and let it go. Let it go freely. Let it go freely, because that's who you are. All right, you guys, I love you so much. Thank you so much for stopping by. And thank you to the new subscribers. Thank you to our old subscribers. I don't want to say old subscribers because, all of my information is below in the description box. And I'll see you next time. Blessed be. Aho. Bye.